everybody, it's me, CNB, and today we are back with another ASMR video. Tonight's video is a different style of video. We are going to be doing a tier list video, similar to the one that I did with cereal, like two weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I believe that video did actually pretty well. So we're going to actually do a gaming style tier list. We're going to be ranking all of the guns in Warzone today based off of these tiers. Strongest slash meta, aka my least favorite guns, because I hate meta weapons. Can compete slash off meta, viable, and then don't play, and then just straight up awful guns. So I have all the guns from Cold War and Warzone, or Cold War and Warzone, Cold War and Modern Warfare in here. There's more than what you just see on the screen right now. We're gonna go by one and just rank them all. So if you're a fan of Warzone, if you're a fan of ASMR, and you're a fan of gaming, then I highly recommend you stick around and see what I have at the end of the video. That being said, guys, if you're new, hit that subscribe button. I do videos or live streams every single night. You can check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/collectandplay for daily live streams during the week. And there's plenty of other socials down in the description below, but let's go ahead and get into this. So, I think I'm just going to start at the top and just work my way until we are out of guns. I don't know how long this is going to take. But first up, we have the AK-47 Cold War. Now, me specifically, I have a hard time controlling recoil, and the AK-47 from Cold War has a ton of recoil. That being said, that boy De Niro, who is easily the best Call of Duty player that I know, TD De Niro, of course, Team Diverge De Niro, he swears that the AK-47 from Cold War is meta. I wouldn't go that far. I think there's a specific tiers of weapons that are in fact strongest slash meta, but I'm going to respect my teammate. I'm going to put this in the can compete slash off meta. It's got way too much recoil for me, but this man has dropped 30 plus kills with this gun, so I'm going to put it in can compete slash off meta. This dude has like a 3.6, 3.7, 3.8 KD, so I'm going to trust his word. Next up, we have the AK-47 Modern Warfare. Now, I use this weapon. Somebody redeemed some Twitch points the other day and told me to use the AK-47 from Modern Warfare, and I was like, oh god, here we go. This thing's actually not bad. I'm actually gonna give this a viable. If you have never used it, try it. It's not bad. It really is not bad. It's pretty steady if you have the right attachments. I had the barrel that had the built-in grip. I don't remember exactly what it's called. I think it's the RPK barrel, maybe. It's actually not bad. It's not bad. I would say it's better than don't play, but it's definitely not a can compete slash off meta. Next up, we have the Amax, and here's a real controversial. Is it meta or is it can compete slash off meta? And it really comes down to how many weapons do we want? How many weapons do we want in the meta classification? For me, there's a handful of guns that are meta. I think the Amax might be one of them. We're going to put the Amax in meta. I might change that up a bit, but we're going to leave it with meta for now. Next up, we have the Asval. Now, the Asval is tricky. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. However, for 30 rounds, in a mag, it's not bad. It's not bad for solos, maybe duos, anything else, trios, squads. It's not gonna be usable. It's not gonna be usable. All that being said, I think I'm gonna put the Asval as viable. You could say it's can compete / off meta if you're talking for solos, but typically the typical person probably doesn't play solos. The typical person, for me, like the #1 game mode to play in Warzone is quads. Like a full team of 4 quads. You can't rock the Asval on quads, you just can't do it. Another weapon that is, in my opinion, slept on, but I'm not going to put it any higher than viable, the AN-94. I think this gun is better than a lot of people think. A lot of people give credit. You know, it's got that first initial like it's like a burst in the beginning, and then it's fully auto. I don't think it's bad. I think it's good as a solo weapon. If you can put, you know, maybe don't put a 45 round mag on it, or a 60 round mag, I can't remember, I think it's 45 or a 50 round mag. Maybe just leave the mag off of it and put an extra, you know, rear grip or a stock on it. I think it's good for solos, but I'm not gonna give it the can compete / off meta. Next up is a gun that has been meta in the past, but I don't see a lot of people using it. It's the FAL, which I'm already noticing kind of a trend. I think we're gonna have a ton of these viables, but not a lot of, you know, strongest meta and then can compete / off meta. We're gonna have most of our weapons are gonna be in these two, probably, and then a couple awfuls. But yeah, FAL. It's been meta in the past. There was a time where everybody was running around with one of these things with a 3x, but nowadays it's not really, you know, you got the DMR, you got the Type 63 now. You don't really need the FAL nowadays, so we'll leave it at viable and leave it at that. Next up, we have the FARA, which I'm gonna put as don't play. Don't play. Sorry, I just got a little too loud there. A little non-whisper. But I'm gonna leave it as don't play. This game was, or this weapon was introduced this season, and it was this in the LC-10, and now we have, God, these Psychoff pistols, which are, I'm not gonna get into, but the FARA 83 is kind of bad. I'm not gonna give it awful, but I'm gonna say don't play it. Don't play it. It's there's many better assault rifles than you could use. Which brings me to the next one, the FFAR. The FFAR. Those of you that follow me on Twitch know I hate the FFAR. I can't stand it. The fact that there are, you know, gray and green and blue ground spawn FFARs all over the place. I feel like it's all anybody ever runs around with. If you want a loadout, it's the FFAR, and then insert other gun here, whether that's, you know, well, you know what, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to spoil the rest of my meta weapons, but yeah, the FFAR, easily the most broken gun in the game. Well, until the Psychoff pistols, or however you say them, whatever the stupid pistols that came out today, but yeah, the FFAR, it's gonna get nerfed soon, and I cannot wait. It's gonna get nerfed even harder. It's been nerfed like 3 times in the last 4 weeks, or in the last month, or whatever. It's still the best gun in the game, in my opinion. It's just that broken, it's just that good, which is so weird because it's terrible in Cold War, but it's incredible in Warzone. Who knows? Who knew? Next up, we have the FR556, which J God recently made a video on the FR556. I've always wondered, when the AUG and the M16 were introduced, they became meta when they got introduced from Cold War. And I always wondered why the heck was the FR556? This gun's not bad. It's a burst weapon. It's not terrible, but it's not the AUG, and it's not the M16. And a matter of fact, I don't even think it's good enough to be an off-meta weapon. I'm gonna give it viable simply for the fact that it's got a single shot mode that you can turn on, and it's not bad. It's one of the fastest TT kills, time to kills in the game, but it's still, I mean, it ain't it. It ain't it. Next, we have a gun that used to definitely be meta. It was the strongest gun in the game at one point. Now, I'm gonna give it off meta, simply because it's just not as strong as some of the other meta weapons, but it's still one of the best guns in the game. You can definitely run it if you prefer something that is just, you know, a absolute beam, and the recoil's not a lot. If you like the iron sights, which I like the iron sights, it's a really good gun to pair with like a sniper rifle, because I think you can use the Groza with, you know, no sight and have 5 attachments. So it's a pretty quick ADS for an assault rifle, which means you can kind of use it as an SMG a little bit. You can run the 50-round mags, you can run the 60-round mags. It's not a bad weapon. It's not a bad weapon. And then, of course, there was once a time where it was the best gun in the game, so I'm gonna run it as can compete / off meta. It's not quite as good as the strongest / meta now, but it is what it is. Next, we have the Groza. I still have not leveled up my Groza. I'm gonna come back to the Groza. We have a Kilo, and you already know I love the Kilo. The Kilo was the first gun that I ever used in Warzone. It was what I was using back when everybody was using the M4. I was using the Kilo, and then they nerfed the M4, and everybody was like, oh my god, the Kilo is so good. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I've been telling you this. The Kilo still, to this day, kind of feels like it can be off meta. It can compete. It's similar to the Groza in the sense that it does not move a whole lot. You could throw a 3x on it. You could throw a mini reflex sight on it. You could even throw the whisper barrel. Yes, the whisper barrel, and kind of turn it into an SMG a little bit. It's a really solid weapon. It's very versatile. I think it's an off-meta weapon for sure. Off-meta weapon for sure. Next up is the Krig 6. I'm still gonna come back to the Groza. The Krig 6. Honestly, I wish there was another tier in between these two, because I'd probably put it in between these two. I like the Krig. That purple, that gold Krig that you get off the ground spawn, I think it's got a 3x on it. It's really good. It's honestly really good. And I don't know. I think we'll just give it viable, because I don't think that it's off meta. You know, for me, the can compete / off meta guns are the guns that aren't quite meta. Maybe they were meta in the past, just like the AK, or just like the Groza, just like the Kilo. They maybe were meta in the past. And a matter of fact, I see one right here, the Bruin. We're gonna throw it in the can compete. You can still use it. It got nerfed. It's not really in the spotlight right now. I know I'm going out of order, but I just saw the Bruin and I had to go for it. The Bruin, man, again, it used to be, everybody used to run this thing. It was the most broken thing in Warzone once upon a time, just like the rest of these other can compete / non-meta weapons. But it's not the top dog anymore. But we'll throw it on there as the can compete / off meta. Lmgs are in the gulag right now, and honestly, I gotta say it's nice to have LMGs and ARs back in the gulag. I think it's just LMGs right now. I can't remember. maybe a handful of ARs. It's my favorite time for the gulags because I never lose. Like the fact that the gulag changes so much kind of annoys me, but I love it when the Bruin and LMGs and ARs and SMGs, anything that's viable, pistols for sakes. I love it when they're the meta, or when they're in the gulag. Next up, we have the M13. And again, I wish there was one in between these two. I'm gonna give the M13 can compete / off meta. A lot of people, it's a very controversial statement. A lot of people love the M13. I've seen people fry with the M13. I myself have fried with the M13. It as well. It's got a built-in silencer barrel that is a really good SMG. I've used it plenty of times. It's not, the preferred, way to use it, but I'm gonna give it can compete. A lot of people probably are gonna say in the comment section, I already know what's gonna be said. It's a hit marker machine, yada yada yada. Listen, it's a laser beam. It's a laser beam, and if you know how to use it, then you know how to use it. I feel like we're putting too many weapons in this can compete / off meta. I really wish that there was another section. We're gonna put the M4 right there with it, because it's pretty much the same thing as all these other weapons, all these other ARs. AR, the typical meta loadout is an AR and an SMG, and all these ARs are viable, or better than viable. They can compete, and they're off meta, but they're not quite the Amax or the FFAR. They're just not quite there. Here we go. Now we're getting into some of the lower tier weapons. The Odin. For now, I'm gonna give it awful. And simply put, I've tried to use this thing. It has its moments when you get in the perfect situation. It hits like an absolute truck. If you can get the drop on a team that doesn't know you're there, say somebody's crossing the field, or crossing, airfield, or, the river, anything where they're out in the open, they don't know that you're looking at them. You got a full squad in front of you. You can wipe them just like that. Very, very fast. But if somebody's shooting back at you, man, this thing, it ain't it. It ain't it. It's very bad. We're gonna put the Scar in the same place. They're basically the same gun. It's the Scar and the Odin are very comparable. Very small magazine size, very high damage, very slow rate of fire. I don't recommend either of them. Next up, we have the Ram 7. Oh man, the good old Ram 7. I used to love this gun with the 2x2. I think it's comparable with the Farah. I'm gonna say don't play it. Although, if you look at this, some of these guns, man, I don't think the FAL is viable anymore. I don't think I need to take these guns down. I already can tell. I need to take these guns down. If don't play the FAL, don't play the FR556. Instead, you should play the DMR or the M16. But we'll get into those in a little bit. So I'll move those down, and honestly, I think the Ram is in that same category. I think you should not use this. If you're going to use this, you may as well use one of these or some of the other ARs that I'm going to put in that category. Like the Groza. I think the Groza is viable. I think it should belong in that category. Same with the XM4. Both of these guns I don't necessarily use, but I know that they are usable, if that makes sense. I know that people have used them. I very rarely see custom XM4s, but I see custom Grozas a good bit. And I know the Groza just got a buff. I don't see a ton of people running around with it, but it's viable. In my opinion, XM4 as well. I hate the XM4. It's got too much recoil for me, but a lot of people could probably use it. I'd say it's viable. Next up, we have the fin. I like the fin. I do. There's so many different attachments you can put on it. You can make it into like a chain gun, basically, where you're holding it like a lawnmower or like a weed whacker, and you're just like mowing people down. No pun intended. But fin, I'm gonna put this as well as just about every other LMG. LMGs aren't good, guys, outside of the Bruin. LMGs are just not good. I'm gonna go don't play. I wouldn't say they're awful. M91. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna separate some of these LMGs. I wouldn't play any LMG other than the Bruin, but I think there are some that are a little bit better than the others, so I'm gonna mix them up between these two. M60, I'm gonna say is awful. Hulker, you can reload pretty quickly, so I'm gonna leave it as a don't play. Fin, the ammo, the different customizations you can do with it leads me to believe that it's better than awful. M91, awful. You can't have a fast reload with it. MG34, this gun actually kind of melts, but the magazine it's like 50 rounds. I'm gonna say it's awful. The PKM, I'm gonna say is a don't play. The PKM actually kind of used to be. Oh man, I kind of want to give it viable if I'm being honest. Same with the RPD. The RPD, a lot of people love the RPD. Me, not so much. The SA87, awful. Stoner 63. This gun, the green Stoner 63 off ground spawn, is kind of a beam. I feel like I should give this gun another try, but for now, I also kind of want to run the PK. It's been a while since I've run some of these LMGs. For me, it doesn't really fit my playstyle, so I'm a little biased, right? The Bruin has a decent mobility rating. All these other ones are just too slow. I'm gonna say don't play on the Stoner as well. RPD, don't play. All these, they're just too slow, guys. They're just too slow. If you're gonna use an LMG, use the Bruin. Use the Bruin. Alright, we got both crossbows are awful. I mean, they're fun to use, I guess, but they're awful. Same with the EBR, awful. Car 98. Whoops. Car 98. Car 98. I'm gonna say it's can compete / off meta. Some people might even call it meta. It's probably renowned as the best sniper in the game, even though it's technically a marksman rifle. But I don't think that sniping is meta. It's just not. Take it from me, I love sniping, but it's not meta. It doesn't beat, running around with an Amax and an FFAR. It just doesn't beat it. It just does not beat it. It does not. It's point blank, period. Does not beat it. Next up is the Mk2 Carbine. And I'm going to give it don't play. A lot of people are probably going to give it awful. I'm going to give it don't play. I got a soft spot for this gun. You guys know. Some of you guys definitely know. I got a soft spot for the Mk2 Carbine. It's really fun to use. If you've never used it, put a 4x on it. Go have fun. 4x silencer, tac laser, the longest barrel, and the rear grip tape. It's a full ADS build. It's so much fun to use. You can just bang, 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 and people are just like so unsuspecting. They don't know what hit them. It's kind of funny, but I'm gonna give it don't play. We got the SKS. I'm gonna give that awful, just simply because the ammo. It runs with sniper ammo, and you can't really carry a lot of sniper ammo, so you run out of ammo so fast. Same with the EBR. They're really good guns, but you just run out of ammo way too fast. So I'm gonna say they're awful. SBR, I'm gonna put it as the same. I think you can run this as off meta. If you're a sniper, right? If you're a sniper, then honestly, there's a handful of sniper rifles that are off meta, and the SBR is one of them. You can compete as a sniper, but you're not going to be the strongest. You can compete, but you're not going to be the strongest. And so we're going to put all of the best snipers in this category. AK-74U. Don't do it. There's a lot of SMGs that have better range. Same with the AUG. The AUG probably has one of those. Is one of those SMGs that has better range, but I don't think it's viable. Bison, don't play it. Bullfrog. The Bullfrog has an argument to be potentially one of the best SMGs in the game, if not the best. I'm gonna give it can compete / off meta. I think it's the best SMG, or one of the best SMGs in the game. Next we have the Fennec. This gun is actually really good. I'm gonna give it viable. The only reason it's not off meta, in my opinion, is the magazine size. It's only got a 40 round mag at the biggest magazine you could have. I think it's 40 rounds, yeah. And I was actually really excited when the ISO came out, because I thought it was going to be a better version of the Fennec. But it's not. It's bad. Don't play it. The KSP-45. I gotta say, I used it once in a solos game. It was melting people up close. The time to kill was like instant. It was insane. It was honestly insane. That being said, if you're not playing solos, you're gonna get melted by other people. You're gonna be like bursting people, you know, from far, and they're gonna get hit for like barely any damage, and their whole team is just gonna melt you. I'm gonna say don't play it. Whoa. Sorry. Alright, sorry about that. I know that it kind of got off screen a little bit. I'm gonna try and pay attention and make sure everything stays on screen as we get more into this video. I'm very aware that there's a big giant black part of the screen now, but we're just gonna have to roll with it and move on because I can't figure out a way to fix it. But next up we have the LC-10. This is the better of the weapons that came out with this season. The LC-10, I think, is one of the best SMGs in the game. I'm gonna give it can compete / off meta. I've made a TikTok about it. It's really good. I think it's honestly, if it's not the best, it's one of the best. So I'm gonna give it can compete / off meta. Which brings me to the Mk2. And here we have the one and only SMG that's gonna go in the meta category. It's probably most well-renowned as the best SMG in the game. I kind of have, 3 SMGs that I would say is the best, but I'm gonna keep my biases aside and just say that the Mk2 is the best SMG in the game. Next up we have the Milano. Awful. Slowest time to kill in the entire game, and that includes pistols. We have MP5 Cold War. I'm gonna say it's viable. And same with the MP5 Modern Warfare. I'm gonna say it's viable. Simply, some people might say it's, as good as some of these other SMGs. Cold War, the Modern Warfare MP5 used to be the king SMG, but now I'm not even going to put it in can compete or off meta. I think some of these other SMGs, these Cold War SMGs, are fire. They're so good. Brings us to the Uzi. I'm going to give it an awful. Og, Cold War, here we go. We got some guns, we got some metas coming up. Og, Cold War, meta, DMR 14. Alright, M16, meta. I'm gonna say the DMR 14 is off meta still. They've nerfed it terribly, but I think you could probably still compete with it. And I'm gonna give the Type 63 viable. So you have definitely the better of the single shot is the off meta. And then you have the Type 63, which is, I've used it. It's not as good as the DMR, but it's still pretty good. Yeah. We got the 725, awful. We got the Gallo. The Gallo right now, it can compete. It's the best shotgun in the game right now. Now that could change in the future, but right now, it can compete. The Hauer shotgun. You can one-tap people on it. You know what, I'm gonna give it the don't play just because you can one-tap people. The Jak 12. I'm gonna give it don't play simply because of the explosive rounds that you could use against cars. Model 680, don't play, or awful. Origin, I'm gonna give it viable. The Origin shotgun is still kind of viable. People just kind of stopped using it because reasons. I don't really know. That probably something else came out that was just really good. That was better. I'm gonna give it viable. Same with the R9 shotgun. They nerfed the fire, the doof. They nerfed the fire rounds, but I think it's still viable. The Street Sweeper. I'm gonna give the Street Sweeper viable simply because it's got so many freaking rounds. You just bang. Anything with a big magazine that you can still move with is gonna be super viable. Hence why these new pistols are such a problem. They're such a problem. VLK Rogue shotgun. Don't play it. I'm gonna give it don't play and not awful simply for the fact that it has these slug rounds, which a bunch of people seem to think are incredible. We got the AX50. I'm gonna give that viable. I think it's one of the better snipers. The Dragunov, awful. We're giving it awful. We're gonna give it awful, and alright, I know we're kind of getting sketchy at this point with the screen and everything, but we're gonna continue on, keep doing the best we can. I think I won't have to interrupt for the rest of the video. We're almost at the end here. But next, we have the HDR. I'm gonna give it viable as well. I'm gonna give it viable simply because HDR and AX50 are interchangeable. Mk2, don't play. Bellington. Now, if you guys don't know about the Bellington with the 4x, in my opinion, the Bellington with the 4x is the best sniper rifle in the game. Yes, better than the Kar 98. The Bellington with the 4x is incredible. I'm going to be making a TikTok about it very, very soon. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Rytec, awful. Tundra. I'm going to put it in the same category as can compete / off meta. I think the Tundra and the Bellington are much better than the AX50 and the HDR. And then pistols. I don't even know if I should rank pistols. They're all, I mean, you know, Diamantes, they're all viable secondaries. I'm gonna say the 1911, Cold War, both of them. Deagle, I'd say don't use that, or the Magnum. I'd say don't use either of those. The Sigma, the Joker, the M79, the Bila, the RPG. I mean, I would say don't use any of these. And I am just gonna not rank that. I think we're gonna leave it at that. There's still some pistols that I didn't rank. If I didn't rank a gun, quick little check. We're gonna do melee. You know what? I'll just go ahead and do them real fast. Melee. The Strela is actually really good. I'll give it 5, or I'll give it don't play. Diamatti, good. Renetti, good. M19, good. Of course, the snake shots, probably still viable. Shield, don't play it. You're gonna be lame. And then this pistol is your starter pistol. We'll leave it at that. And there you have your full list right there. Boom. So, guys, there it is. There's my tier list of weapons that I think are best to worst. We got the Amax, the FFAR, the Mk2, the AUG Cold War, and the M16 as your 5 meta weapons. And I'm going to do one little last glance down. Yeah, I think that's it. Really, your best bet for a loadout is like an Amax FFAR or an FFAR AUG or an FFAR M16. Any combination of those 5 weapons, and you're going to be frying out, you're going to be fragging. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. So, if you're watching this during the day, then have a relaxing rest of the day. And if you're watching this at night, then have a great night's sleep.